Whatever happens today, I want to clarify this. I love this woman, and I really, really like this man. Annyeonghaseyo, welcome to Cinemarea, where we only talk about satire movies and dramas. I'm a fan of Park Shin-hye ever since I saw her in Memories of the Alhambra, so I'm interested in her every move. Hence, I couldn't wait to watch Sisyphus, The Myth, or Sisyphus. As usual, I knew nothing about the show, so I was really glad to see CHo Seung-woo as the other lead. He was really good in the show Stranger, but go watch the movie Inside Man, he's really good in there. Apart from them, here's Song Dong-il, which is a major plus, Byung Chul, who's awesome and plays a villain this time, Jung Hye-in, Tae In-ho, and lots of others. In the present, CHo Seung-woo is a tech genius who almost dies in a plane crash, and after that, his life turns completely upside down. His dead brother seems to be alive, and he almost gets killed at a conference, but a mysterious woman saves her life, played by Park Shin-hye. As it turns out, she came back from the future to save CHo Seung-woo, because if she doesn't, a war is going to break out, erasing almost all life on the Korean peninsula. I like time travel stories because I'm intrigued by the concept of time travel. The problem is that usually incorporating time travel into your story opens up a huge can of worms, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. So I like the concept of time travel, so I was really interested in the story. And on top of that, the show is full of actors I truly respect, and honestly, they were the best part of Sisyphus for me. Everyone is giving their absolute best. Park Shin-hye is not only a fragile woman, she's also a fighter and she can kick your ass anytime. This was something new from her, and it worked pretty well. She was great with what she had. CHo Seung-woo was great as well. He's pretty different than in his previous works I've seen. He's much more emotional, shall I say goofy, and I really, really appreciated his character arc here. He starts out as a pretty selfish guy, but as he gets to know Park Shin-hye a little bit better, and as the danger is getting bigger and bigger, he really steps up. I mean, let's say Park Shin-hye is held at gunpoint and he immediately jumps there to save her, and you can see it in his eyes that he's ready to die for that woman. And that's just one scenario, there are more, and it was really satisfying. He was great with what he had. Byung Chul was also great. He's this sort of mystery character for quite a long time. I loved his entrance in the show. It seemed like he'll be a great psychological threat for CHo Seung-woo, which he is, but then I learned his backstory and it ruined a lot of things for me. But Byung Chul was great with what he had. But my favorite was definitely Song Dong-il because his character is really hard to judge. He's kind of an asshole, but he's also not. But even at his worst, you can see that he has a big heart and it's really hard to pull off. Song Dong-il is a fantastic actor and he did a great job here as well. I wish he had more screen time actually. So the story of Sisyphus is really interesting. The cast is phenomenal. I really enjoyed the hand-to-hand combats. They're filmed really well. They're very intense. The actors are giving their all. And the show spends quite a lot of time in the future where the Korean peninsula is basically destroyed and it looks great. I mean, in a way it looks exactly the way you expect it to look, but it does look great. On paper, the show should be a masterpiece. It has all the necessary ingredients. Unfortunately, Sisyphus is anything but a masterpiece. See, in the present there's this so-called Control Bureau, and they're hellbent on taking down Park Shin-hye and CHo Seung-woo. As it turns out, a lot of people are coming from the future and their job is to catch them all. Like Pokemons. Just kidding. But they have quite a few confrontations with the main characters. They have plenty of opportunities to take them down, but they never do. The problem with this is that since they're really inefficient, the action scenes have no weight to them. Any drop of excitement or tension is taken out of the show because you know that the main characters are going to be fine. And this makes the action scenes feel much more like a popcorn flick rather than a suspenseful action thriller, which Sisyphus really should have been. Much later, there's an explanation for their inefficiency, and it was mildly satisfying. But for 15 episodes, I kept wondering what was the point of including them in the show. They say they know everything that's about to happen, so what's the point of any of their actions? The show kinda ruins the villain as well. I think his backstory was to the detriment of the character. Up until that point he was this mysterious character, and I thought he was gonna be a great psychological challenge for the main character. But his backstory kinda reduced him to this psychotic nutjob, and it was really disappointing. But the really big problems are the following. Me saying a little bit earlier that the actors were great with what they had was no coincidence. Unfortunately, even though the characters are pretty well established, they're also pretty one-dimensional. I think that was the reason that Song Dong-il's character worked really well because he was much more layered than anyone else. You know, the characters are likable, they're very decent people, but they still feel lifeless. CHo Seung-woo's character is traumatized by his brother's death, and honestly, that's his only big character trait. Whenever somebody wants to get into his head, he just has to mention his brother and CHo Seung-woo is off. And it happens quite a lot, and after a while it really doesn't make sense, especially after he learns something things about his brother. So after a while, these freak-out moments of his start to make no sense whatsoever. And then his character is supposed to be this genius, and his introduction in the show is him fixing the electrical system of an airplane that's about to crash. I mean, it was a bit too much. And the problem is that none of the danger feels real after that. Everything is kind of popcorny, for lack of a better word. But the bigger problem is that he really doesn't come across as that much of a genius until it's convenient for the plot. His character in the show Stranger was a lawyer who never showed his emotions, and yet that character was a lot deeper than his character here in Sisyphus. What the f***? And then there's Park Shin-hye's character from the future, and again, she's very, very likable. I mean, come on, she's the sole reason I started watching this show, and she does give 150%. But as an actress, she has a certain aura. I'm sure she has the range to portray a ruthless villain as well, but overall her aura is very, very positive and fragile and very, very warm. And whatever she does, it's in there. So do I buy her as this ass-kicking gunslinger? No. Do I appreciate her doing all the fight scenes and giving her all? Absolutely I do. But I don't buy it. But these two characters have another problem. Since their characters are pretty one-dimensional, there isn't really any chemistry between them. The show implies really soon that there's gonna be a romance between them, and it really didn't work for me. Their dialogues were so fabricated and so wooden, which is not the actor's fault, but the whole thing felt so fabricated and unnatural. I loved the first kiss between them though, because at that particular time, in that particular situation, it made perfect sense. It really did. But overall, no. They're likable, they're fun, but they don't click perfectly. Their characters are lacking. But this is the big one. The show is 16 episodes long and quite a bit of time is spent in the future, which is the past now, because Park Shin-hye came to the present, so the future is her past. Makes sense, right? The point is, these scenes show her journey. They show how she got determined to go back in time to save CHo Seung-woo, who actually invented the time machine, so it would make a lot more sense to kill him before he actually makes the time machine. But that's not the problem with these scenes. The problem is that these scenes almost never add anything new to the story or to the characters, and there's almost always an obligatory action scene where she and her father gets into trouble, and shootouts happen, and oh my god, they are in danger now. Except they're not, because the show opens with them at the time machine as Park Shin-hye is about to leave. And she's already made it into the present, so we know that she's gonna make it. So these scenes are pointless. And it's not like these are 2-3 minute scenes, no, these are 20-30 minute chunks in each and every episode. The show should be titled Sisyphus, they come in chunks. The show has a great main story, but it constantly diverges from it from 20 minutes or more, and almost all of these scenes are utterly useless filler. And you can feel them coming after a while. At around the 6th or the 7th episode, I was like, okay, here's another 20 minutes of me not giving a fuck. The storytelling gets scattered all over the place, the main story gets stretched way too much, and the whole thing becomes uninteresting. The show constantly takes one step forward and 2 steps back, and after a while these flashbacks and flash-forward scenes lost my attention completely, because they were utterly pointless. Sisyphus should have been 10 episodes at max. If you don't have enough substance to make a tight 16-episode story, just make it 10, what's the problem? Just give me a well-told story. Actually, I have a solution that might have worked. In the first 2 episodes, the show should have focused on setting up the 2 main characters. I don't know, like, give the first episode to CHo Seung-woo, give the second episode to Park Shin-hye, and then make them meet at the end of the second episode. And then only use flashbacks and flash-forwards when it is absolutely necessary. The show Flower of Evil actually did a great job in that department. Actually, that show is fantastic. But Sisyphus? I was interested in the main story, but it gets silent all the time, and honestly, a large part of this show is just plain boring. And since I was tuned out a lot of times, the show actually gave me a lot of opportunities to think about the plot, and as the show came to an end, well, none of it makes sense whatsoever. I don't want to spoil anything, but if you start to think about it, nothing makes sense whatsoever. That's the problem with time travel stuff. If your story is not interesting enough, the plot holes become a lot more obvious. And none of it makes sense whatsoever. And then there are other small things, you know, like people in the present learning about these people from the future and not freaking out at all. I mean, CHo Seung-woo throws up once, but that's about it. I mean, imagine Park Shin-hye's father in the present meeting his daughter from the future. In the present, his daughter is like 8, and now here she is at the age of 30. And he's like, oh, I'm a bit confused right now. Well, no shit you are. I'll be like, 너 진짜 내 딸이야? 미래에서 온 딸이야? 어떡해. 미치겠다 진짜. 어지러워. Look, there are likable things in Sisyphus, mainly the actor's determination, and the main story would be really interesting, but the show constantly derails from it, adding nothing to it in the process. Sisyphus is a bloated mess. I'm gonna give the show 60%, but only because I love the cast here and they truly do a great job. But honestly, objectively, this would be 50%. The storytelling is so scattered, it stalls the flow of the show completely. The characters, although likable, are also pretty one-dimensional. The action has no weight at all, and hence the show becomes boring. Sisyphus is boring. I'm vastly disappointed. I expect so much more from a cast like this. 여러분, 오늘은 여기까지만 해요. 영상 봐주셔서 감사합니다. 이 영상 좋아하면 구독해주세요. See you very soon. 다음 시간에 만나요, 여러분. 안녕히 계세요. Bye!